My name is Nadia and I belong to a small area in Peshawar. The incident I am about to tell you happened with me in 2015. Even today, when I remember all of this, it feels as if it all happened yesterday. As if that house, those rooms, those silences are still alive somewhere inside me. I was the only child of my parents. My father was in a government job. My mother was a simple housewife, spending the whole day doing housework, talking about the neighborhood, checking on relatives. I studied until the 12th grade. After that, I stayed at home. Mornings were breakfast with my mother, afternoons spent with clothes or utensils, sometimes going to the roof to water the plants. Life was simple, limited, but safe. When I turned 20, talks of marriage began in the house. At first, I would get scared. My heart would tremble, but my mother would say that this is all part of a girl's life. A few months later, our match was arranged within our distant relatives. The boy's name was Cameron ***. Medium height, fair complexion, with a strange seriousness in his eyes. He worked at a private company. Cameron's house had many people. 2 or 3 brothers, 2 sisters. One sister was already married, the other still lived at home. In the beginning, everything seemed fine. The wedding was simple. I came into new clothes, a new room, new people. The first few months passed well. I tried to keep everyone happy, spoke less with my mother-in-law, respected my father-in-law, remained silent in front of my sister-in-law and brother's wife. But slowly, the atmosphere began to change. Cameron's sister and one of his brother's wives started behaving strangely toward me. They would stop me on every little thing, blow small matters out of proportion. Sometimes they would say, "You put too little salt in the curry. Do they teach you like this at your mother's house?" Sometimes, laughing in front of Cameron, they would say, "Brother, your wife is so simple. She doesn't understand anything." I remained silent. It hurt inside, tears would come to my eyes, but I kept my mouth shut. Once I gathered courage and told Cameron. He listened, nodded, but gave no clear response. Finally, one day when I told him again, he only said, "Bear it all. I am looking for a separate house. As soon as I find one, we will move out." That day, I felt embarrassed. It seemed as if because of me, he wanted to distance himself from his family. But by now, everyone knew about this. After that, it was as if I had been given open permission. Taunts, accusations, talk that it was I who was driving the brother away from them. Otherwise, Cameron would never have thought of a separate house. About a year passed. I endured everything. I kept breaking inside, but I told no one. Then one day, Cameron came and told me that he had seen a house, newly built. Half the money was paid as an advance, the rest in installments. The family didn't like this decision, except for Cameron's father. He was a very good man. He treated me like a daughter, perhaps because he was an old friend of my father's. The deal was done the next day. We bought that house and shifted within a few days. That day, for the first time, I felt as if I had been freed from a prison. That house was not very large, 2 rooms, a kitchen, a small lawn in front, but it was clean, new, and bright. Sunlight would come into the lawn in the evening. The neighborhood was quiet. The lane was narrow. 2-story houses on both sides. At sunset, the call to prayer would come from a distant mosque, faintly, as if carried by the wind. Life changed in the new house. We would wake up early. I would make breakfast for Cameron. He would leave for the office. I would clean the house, cook, do laundry. In the afternoon, I would sometimes put a cot in the lawn and sit, sometimes lie under the fan in the room. A few months passed very well. I had started laughing again. My heart felt lighter. Then slowly, things began to change. At first, I didn't understand. Just a strange restlessness remained, especially during the day when I was alone in the house. It felt as if someone else was there too, as if I was not alone. I would tell myself, "Nadia, this is a new house, a new place. You'll get used to it." When I told Cameron, he laughed and said, "You're just bored staying alone. It's just an illusion." A few days later, things started disappearing. I would keep salt, tea, spoons in their proper places. Then they would either not be found or be lying somewhere else. One day, I opened the salt container and found it completely empty. I remembered clearly that I had filled it. Then one afternoon, around noon, I was sitting in the room. Suddenly, I felt as if the door of the other room had been shut forcefully, the same sound we hear every time we close a door. My heart sank. I immediately got up and came out. The door was closed, but it was already closed. I stood there. My breathing quickened. A slight tremor came to my hands. Then, gathering courage, I slowly opened the door. There was no one inside. At night, when Cameron came, I told him everything. He said, "It must be the sound from the neighbor's house. You get scared for no reason." I fell silent, but my heart was not convinced. All these incidents happened only when I was alone. One day, I was cooking in the kitchen. Suddenly, I felt as if someone had entered my room. I stopped. My heart started pounding. I slowly went toward the room. I went inside. There was nothing. I didn't tell Cameron about this. He wouldn't have believed me anyway. Then one day, I was going from the kitchen to the room. The door was open. The bulb was on. As I got closer, I saw a human shadow in the corner. My heart seemed to stop. I slowly went inside. I looked at the wall in front, nothing. Then I looked toward that same corner. The shadow was gone. At night, I told Cameron that I would not stay alone anymore. I was scared. I had seen a shadow. He said in a tired tone, "Have you gone mad? Jinn don't come during the day, it's all an illusion." Hearing his words, I also got confused. Perhaps I was really just imagining things. But then came a day that changed everything. That day was like any other, and on that same day, after sunset, this house showed me its true face for the first time. I had woken up a little before dawn. Outside, there was silence in the lane, only the occasional barking of dogs. I performed ablution, spread my prayer mat. During the prayer, my heart felt strangely heavy, as if a weight was placed on my chest. After finishing, I sat there for a long time. Then I went to the kitchen, lit the stove, and put water in the kettle to make breakfast for Cameron. As the sun began to rise, faint sounds started coming from the neighborhood. Someone was opening a door, somewhere the clinking of utensils, somewhere children preparing for school. Life was normal in our house, too. Cameron got ready. I gave him breakfast. He ate while looking at his phone. As he left, he only said, "I might be late today." I nodded. The door closed, and the house became completely silent, that same silence that belonged to this house. I swept the floor, washed the lawn. By noon, all the work was done. It was hot. The fan was running fast, but I was still sweating. I lay down in the room in the afternoon, but sleep would not come. My eyes would keep opening as if someone was watching me. At the time of the afternoon prayer, I got up and made tea. The call to prayer came from outside. That day, the voice sounded a little sadder than usual. I held the cup of tea and stood in the lawn. The lane was deserted. The opposite house's door was closed. Suddenly, I felt it again, as if someone was standing behind me. I immediately turned around. There was nothing. My heart gave a strong thud. I scolded myself and went back to the kitchen. Near sunset, the sun began to set. A faint orange color spread across the sky. I turned on the lights. A yellow glow spread through the house, but the darkness still seemed to hide in the corners of the walls. I was preparing to cook dinner when I had to step out of the kitchen for some work. As soon as I came out, my eyes went involuntarily inside the room. The same wall, and on that wall, the same shadow. The spoon fell from my hand. My heart pounded so loudly that I thought the sound must be heard outside. I stood there. My breathing quickened. My feet felt rooted to the ground. I slowly moved toward the room. Every step was heavy, as if I was walking through a swamp. My heart wanted to run away, but my eyes were fixed on that room. As soon as I entered the room, the shadow disappeared. I looked around the whole room, the bed, the cupboard, the walls, nothing. I took a long breath and turned around. And then, a woman was standing in front of me. My scream got stuck in my throat. My breath seemed to stop completely. I cannot describe that woman's face in words. Her eyes were deep black, as if there was no light in them. Her face was so disfigured that it was difficult to look at. But my eyes could not look away. It felt as if someone was holding me. My body went numb, my arms and legs all lifeless. That woman stood completely still. She neither moved forward nor backward. A strange cold spread through the room. The fan was running, but I felt as if cold air was entering my bones. I gathered all my strength, closed my eyes, and began reciting whatever verses I remembered. My voice was trembling, my tongue was stumbling, but I did not stop. I lost all sense of time. Half an hour, perhaps more. I just kept reciting, eyes closed, body shaking, sweat flowing. Suddenly, the sound of the door came. The sound of a key turning. Cameron had arrived. He called out, "Nadia!" I couldn't answer. No sound was coming out. He came into the room. "What happened? Why are you standing like this?" Then I opened my eyes. The room was empty. That woman was not there. Broken words came out of my mouth. I told him everything. As I spoke, my body gave up. A high fever came over me. My head started spinning. Cameron panicked. He made me sit on the bed and gave me a fever tablet. He himself was also shaken. After a while, my fever subsided a little, but my heartbeat was still not under control. He immediately called my parents. They arrived shortly. My mother placed my head in her lap. Her hand was on my head, but I could not speak. As soon as I closed my eyes, that same face would appear before me. I couldn't sleep all night. When morning came, my father took a deep breath and said, "This doesn't seem ordinary. We will have to call a religious scholar." That same evening, Cameron and my father brought a scholar. And when he stepped into this house, the atmosphere changed. The scholar arrived after the evening prayer. The sound of the call to prayer had just ended. A faint redness still remained in the sky, but darkness had already descended in the lane. In the neighborhood, as usual, children were playing. Somewhere the sound of utensils being put away could be heard. But inside our house, there was a strange silence, the kind that hides in your ears. The scholar was about 55 years old. White beard, simple clothing, a small bag in his hand. As soon as he stepped into the lawn, I felt the direction of the air change. No sound, no movement, just a heavy atmosphere. He greeted us. His voice was deep but calm. I was sitting near the door of the room. My heart was beating very fast. My hands were getting cold. My mother pressed my shoulder as if telling me to have courage. The scholar first asked me, "Daughter, what have you been through?" When I began to speak, my voice was trembling. The same shadow, the same woman, the same frozen feeling. While telling everything, my throat kept getting choked. The scholar listened silently. He neither interrupted nor gave any reaction. Then he asked about the house. "This house is new." "Yes." "Who lived here before?" "We didn't know." He nodded. Then he said, "All right, first let's begin the recitation." He asked me to sit in the middle of the room. Somehow I went and sat there. The room's light was on, but I felt as if the light wasn't reaching the walls. The scholar opened the Quran and began to recite. With the first verse, a strange tension came into my body. My heartbeat quickened. Sweat came to my hands. As he kept reciting, a strange buzzing sound began in my ears. The voices were not clear, as if coming from inside the walls. My mother held my hand. Her fingers were also trembling. Suddenly, a sharp pain rose in my head. I closed my eyes. It felt as if someone was pressing my head with both hands. The scholar's voice grew louder. The words were clear, strong. Suddenly, I felt as if the air in the room had become heavy. Breathing became difficult. I tried to take a deep breath, but my chest wouldn't fill. Then a faint rustling sound came from a corner of the room. Cameron turned back in surprise. The scholar gestured with his hand for him to stay silent and continued reciting. The shivering in my body increased. My feet began to shake on their own. It felt as if someone wanted to lift me up and make me stand. I tried to open my eyes, but they seemed forced shut. Suddenly, a cold wind hit my face. My hair moved. The fan was running, but this wind was different, very close. The scholar recited a verse loudly. At that moment, I felt a whisper near my ear. The words were not understandable, but the voice was a woman's, very close, so close that I could feel the warmth of her breath. A suppressed scream escaped my mouth. My body stiffened. My mother started crying. My father's voice came, "Oh, Allah, protect us." The scholar suddenly stopped reciting. Complete silence fell in the room, the kind where you can hear your own heartbeat. The scholar looked at me. In his eyes, along with seriousness, there was also concern. "This is not an ordinary thing," he said. "This house was not empty when you came." A cold wave ran through my body. Cameron asked in panic, "What do you mean?" The scholar took a deep breath. "It is already here, and it only appears when she is alone." My grip loosened. I looked at my mother. The color had drained from her face. The scholar said, "I will continue recitations for 2 or 3 days. After that, we will see what happens." That sentence struck my heart like an arrow. The scholar closed his bag and left. That night, no one in the house slept. The lights remained on. The doors remained closed. Everyone would startle at every sound. And I felt as if that woman was standing somewhere in the darkness, listening. This was the night after which Cameron decided that we would not take this matter lightly. The next day, after the afternoon prayer, the same scholar came again. This time, there was no softness on his face. He looked more serious. He had the same bag, but this time there was a small bottle, some amulets, and something wrapped in a cloth. As soon as he entered the house, he stood near the door and recited something softly. I felt as if the weight on my chest had lightened slightly. He said first, "Today there will be no questions and answers. Just do as I say." I was made to sit in the middle of the room. My mother sat behind me. Cameron stood near the door. The light was on, but the room still seemed dim, as if the light itself was tired. The scholar began to recite. This time, his voice was very strong. The words were echoing off the walls and coming back. The first few minutes were fine. Then a slight tingling began in my feet. My hands became heavy. My head started bowing on its own. Suddenly, I felt as if someone had come and stood behind me. I tried to open my eyes, but they seemed forced to stay closed. My breathing quickened. My heart was pounding loudly. The scholar's voice grew even louder. At that moment, a severe cold spread through the room. The bulb flickered slightly. I clearly felt as if someone had breathed in anger very close. A cry escaped my mouth involuntarily. The scholar suddenly placed the cloth-wrapped object on the floor with force. After that, for a moment, everything became still. No sound, no wind, no feeling. Then, as if something had stepped back, life began to return to my body. My breathing slowly returned to normal. The scholar stopped reciting. There was a strange silence in the room, but it was not as heavy as before. He said, "Now it will not stay here, but remember one thing, never be careless in this house again. Prayer, the call to prayer, the Quran, none of this should stop." I opened my eyes. The room was the same, but something had changed. The walls looked plain. The corners were empty. That night, for the first time, I slept. Not a deep sleep, but sleep. A few days later, we left that house. Cameron somehow settled the installment matter, and we shifted to another area. I never asked anyone anything. I never tried to find out what it was or where it came from, because knowing the answers to some questions gives a person fear for a lifetime. Even today, years later, if I am alone in a room and the light doesn't reach the corners, I involuntarily look toward the door. Not because I expect to see something, but because I remember. Sometimes, some things are felt before they are seen. I have told this story so that others might be warned. Not every house is empty just because it is new. Not every silence is peaceful just because it is quiet. And not every presence shows itself to everyone. Sometimes, it waits for you to be alone. If you ever feel a cold presence in your home, if you ever see a shadow that should not be there, do not ignore it. Do not be ashamed to seek help. There is no shame in asking for prayers, for protection, for guidance. And most importantly, do not let your home become a place where the name of Allah is not heard. Keep the Quran in your house. Keep the call to prayer alive. These are not just rituals, they are shields. I am grateful that we survived. I am grateful that we found help. But I will never forget what I saw, and I will never stop being careful. If you liked this story, please like the video and leave a kind comment. Subscribe to the channel for more true stories of the unseen.